me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Well, race fans, welcome to the biggest stage in all of NASCAR. So glad you could join us tonight on the Elite Racing Network for tonight's Sonesta 250 right here, virtual Talladega, Alabama. Rashav, we are in for a treat tonight because tonight 14 drivers become 9 as we are set to end our first round in the playoffs, and everybody still has a fighting shot to get in.
Absolutely, Alex. This is what we're all looking forward to tonight. I mean, the first cutoff of the chase, that championship grid shrinks down, loses 5 members. We get closer to crowning our 2021 B champion, but also we're getting a chance to watch some absolutely crazy racing on the high banks here at Talladega. Of course, the second time we've now gotten a chance to, or the second time we'll be getting a chance to drive with these next-gen cars, this next-gen package around a super speedway type racetrack. So much to look forward to. We also have a couple of special guests racing tonight. We'll get to that in just a little bit. We do have a quick heat race going on here because we have such a massive grid for the first time in a little while, actually, here in the Elite Racing Leagues, actually having to run the heat. We've got over 40 cars, I believe, running in the event. So Brent Jones, Charlie Brown, Rusty Capel, the 3 guys who were the last to take or to make the field, the last of our drivers to qualify. They're just going to run a quick 3-lap little heat race here, have a little bit of fun before things get underway. However, while they're doing that, we do get a chance to talk about the championship and what it looks like. So you'll watch the action on your screen here, but in front of it, we're going to show you guys the current championship standing. So Tate Lytle, Jared Rexing, both of them with wins in this round, set them up to be ready to go for round number 2 of the chase, but the rest of these guys all fighting it out. And watch there between 3rd and 9th place just how close those drivers are. That's 8 points separating Alexander Van de Sant all the way back to Chris Wright. Those are the drivers that are currently in position to advance. It is a big gap back down to Jacob Adams, Johnny Thomas, Brandon Key, and Andrew Rucker. So those guys will need a lot of luck to work their way to point their way into this chase. Same thing with Chuck Sweeting. He's in a must-win situation. However, if any of these guys, Adams, Thomas, Key, Rucker, or Sweeting, win the race, look out because any one of these guys, all the way from Van de Sant back to Chris Wright, could suddenly be out with the way the chase works.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We talk about the top 9 advancing forward to the next round here, but I believe the only safe position is points 1 through 8, because if you are one of those bottom cars that gets a win here tonight, you can bounce somebody out on points in that 9th position, so you don't want to be at the bottom of the barrel scraping at the end of this one. So it is going to be a tight battle heading into tonight's race, and at the drop of the checkered flag, we really won't know how our grid is set until that falls here later on in about 2 hours. Looks like we had the piece car come back out for this heat race, so don't know exactly when that's expected to get started. We should hopefully get started again this time around, but I believe only one of these drivers is going to make it in. With a 3-car field, that's going to be a little bit different because somebody's going to be on the odd guy looking out without a drafting partner.
Yeah, I think the way we're running it right now is qualifying still dictated the field. This is more of an iRacing kind of in order for us to be able to run 40 to 43 cars, anything more than the base 40 cars, I think we have to run a heat race. So it's a little bit of an annoying, just something we kind of have to do here with iRacing. I believe because 5 cars were set to race in this heat race, but only 3 are taking the green flag. The 3 that are taking the green flag here are the 3 that are permitted to actually run in the race. The other 2 have been requested to go home. So Zishan Dura and Trey Holmes, both of them will not be racing tonight. Both of them are open level cars, so they're not allowed to race here. These guys will run for a couple of laps here, just should reset into their qualifying order, and then we will get underway in terms of this race. So finally, I believe the green flag comes out. We'll take a quick look here. It is actually the final lap, so the pace car was running around for some of those main race laps. So once these guys cross the line, we will actually get a chance to go back to our main event here, and we'll get rolling with that in just a quick second. So Brent Jones, Rusty Capel, Charlie Brown, as I mentioned, all 3 of those guys will be making this field.
Awesome to see such a great field on deck here tonight. And I always love Talladega Super Speedway because I've been told how if you can start your car here, you have a shot to win. And I think that also brings up a unique advantage for our sport. Just because we have 14 drivers in the playoffs, that doesn't mean that just these 14 people are going to be battling for this championship. 40 cars tonight all believe they have a shot to win here. Yeah,
absolutely. It's complete chaos in terms of what you expect to see here, as I believe the race continues on here for another lap. So even though we were seeing final lap that last time around, it looks like might just be a glitch here in timing and scoring that we're getting, but now these guys should be coming to the end. Could potentially have just been oh, there you go, contact between these guys racing out.
So why our voice jumps up an octave, and why tonight's event is a must event, and how if you're one of those competitors in the bottom half of the playoff grid, you do not want to be where trouble could break out, because it could happen just that quickly. Already, I mean, 2/3 of the field has been wiped out in that wreck right here. That's funny to say because only there are 3 cars there, but that could be a reality tonight.
No, it certainly could, and I mean, we've seen races where if you get an incident, especially further up in the front of the pack. I mean, we go back to Richmond last week, right, where we had a couple of crashes where guys right up in the front of the pack went out, and it took out a huge number of cars. Expect something similar here today. What I'm curious to see is, do we have a little bit of a difference in terms of how the race plays out in kind of a style of what we saw in Daytona earlier this season, where it really was kind of single file package, guys were all having to run in order. There wasn't a ton of movement throughout the field, or are we going to see what we've seen with some of the 2-mile tracks this year, where a lot of moves, you can make big runs, and so 2 very different styles of racing we've seen here. I'm curious to see what we get this time around, because both of those, I believe, were pretty much flat-out racing as well. Even on the 2-mile tracks with this next-gen package, you should be able to run relatively close to flat-out, so yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of package, what kind of racing we get tonight, because that could seriously dictate the way people tackle restarts and all of that other stuff. But Rusty Capel will cross the line here after that contact with Charlie Brown. So Capel, of course, making the field, just has to get his car stopped here, and it should load us right on over into our main event. And let's walk you guys through the grid as the cars begin to get gridded here in the field. And you saw just briefly there, Scott Crump, the man on pole position, with Alexander Van de Sant just a couple of thousandths of a second off.
This is going to be an exciting race already so far, and how important being up front early, I believe, is going to dictate what we see in front of the field. Will we see people decide to lay back there and perhaps try to stay out of trouble? Do we see that fight to get up front in this race? I've been watching Talladega Superspeedway racing, whether it be virtually or in the real world, for over 20 years, just as a fan, and I still couldn't tell you what the best strategy is. Do you want to be in the back of the pack and kind of wait it out and not be a part of the big one, as we often talk about here? Do you want to be up front when it could count the most and avoid trouble here at Talladega? I just don't know.
Yeah, and It varies from driver to driver depending on who you ask. So something really important to kind of pay attention to, and we've found success to take place, like you said. People who hang out in the back and then come up late in the race have found success. People who run up front all day have found success here, so it's hard to tell. But I'm about to shift over to grid page number 2 here, and your eyes are not going to be deceiving you. Yes, take a look at the driver who qualified in the 14th position. That is, in fact, Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Dale Earnhardt Jr., making a start here in the Elite JoinAPS Cup Series.
That man has 6 wins here at Talladega Superspeedway, tied for second with Jeff Gordon and Brad Keselowski on the all-time list here. Talladega Superspeedway used to be his house, and let me tell you, they used to say when he took the lead, it would measure on the Richter scale. I cannot believe we have Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the field here tonight. Such a treat for us all.
It's incredible here. I mean, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been one of the loudest advocates for iRacing over the past couple of years, and the merits that it presents in terms of creating driver talent and finding driver talent and just getting people, testing time, track time. And here he is getting a chance to run with some of the best sim racers here on iRacing, here in the Elite Racing Leagues. Of course, going to have to be wary of that championship fight going on, but look out for this 88 car. Him combined with Jeff Green, we've got a lot of star power in this field from the real life world of NASCAR, as well as the star power here within the Elite Racing Leagues.
All right, so we are going to have already coming to the drop of the green flag right here. Final thoughts here, Rashad. Sorry, I think I had something going on in the background. But I just want to know who are you keeping an eye on as we get the field about to get underway?
Gonna keep my eye on some of these really talented plate racers. So Tyler Fode's shown a lot of success at plate tracks in the past. Definitely going to look at our Daytona 500 winner, Johnny Thomas. We know he's going to be strong. Look for guys who are outside of the chase bubble right now looking to make a big move. Chuck Sweeting, if he's racing in the field today, I think he should be another driver to look out for, but I don't quite know if he's actually qualified. But the pace car is off and we're about to go to green flag racing.
Scott Crump leads the final race of the first round for the Elite Racing League. They get to the tri-oval here. 40 drivers, all trying to conquer NASCAR's biggest stage virtually. The green flag is out and Scott Crump leads them down into turn number 1. We are racing at Talladega.
Here we go. Really late start here for Scott Crump, trying to control the field the best he possibly can. And here they come, getting up to speed, going through the gears, that inside line early on here with the run. And you can see guys already ditching that top lane, trying to get to the bottom. This could be a single lane racetrack here early on.
As I like to say, it takes these guys about a lap and a half to truly get up to speed here at Talladega Superspeedway. But once they do so, they travel the length of a football field a second. Already you see guys beginning to feel out that outside groove, trying to get that outside lane to push forward. We're going to be talking about pushing and shoving a lot here tonight.
Absolutely, and here we go. You've got Van de Sant and R.C. Anderson lined up on the top lane. They've got Vincent Isabella filling in for Trevor Elam in the 29 as well on that top lane. But there you go, Van de Sant bails out of the top, leaves R.C. Anderson up top alone. Though look out, they've got Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that top lane as well. So this one could get rolling here in just a few laps time. But right now, the power of numbers certainly looks like it's in favor of the bottom. Look at just how many cars lining up on the bottom. Not too many cars right now braving it out up top, trying to make something work.
Yeah, about 6-car breakaway at the front of the field, all single file. And you have double wide for the 7th place on back. Make that 4-5, perhaps 6 rows deep as they get up to speed at the Alabama Gang super stretch here.
There we go.
R.C. Anderson, I believe, leading that outside lane right there for 7th.
Yeah, a lot of star power up in this top lane now. You've got R.C. Anderson, IndyCar driver, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., former NASCAR driver, former most popular driver in NASCAR. Probably still is the most popular driver if he was racing today. So, yeah, I mean, huge star power up there. Guys just trying to get something together, but right now just not a lot of organization in that top lane. And we're seeing right now they're just kind of slowly falling behind the rest of these guys. Jeff Green passing R.C. Anderson this time by. Look for Jeff Green and Tyler Fode to work very closely together. They work very well at these super speedways, and they could be moving forward for Lake Norman Motorsports. But Scott Crump, since the drop of the green flag, has been our leader. And as more people kind of crowd into that top lane, we could start to see them form up a little bit as organizations kind of leaving that bottom line But as it stands right now, it just looks advantage bottom lane here, but people definitely still trying to make this top work.
Outside line, as you had mentioned there, look at the 29 and the 50. They are nose to tail, and they are working the draft to perfection there, and they've actually brought up that outside lane all the way up to 4th place to our point leader there, Tate Lytle, trying to get more as we see that outside line really feel out with that 29. I think that's something that we're going to be talking about, where you can push, when you can push. As we see Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually switch lanes, he dove down to the bottom. That's going to take some of that energy away from that top lane, and RC Anderson and that 29 car are going to fall back.
Yeah, already you can see just how much of a difference one car makes. There's still some good amount of there's a good amount of cars still in that top lane, but they're just too separated right now. And you can see on the bottom where Dale Jr., Tyler Fody, Jeff Green, Alexander Van de Sant, they're all they're still separated a little bit, but they're all more or less nose to tail here where they can make something work. A little bit of contact there potentially between RC Anderson and Dale Jr. as they go over to side draft each other. Not sure if they actually ended up hitting one another, but there you go. Already tight quarters here as RC might be looking for a chance to bail out of this top lane as well here. Trying to make something work with Vincent Isabella behind him, but right now just no pace for these guys up top, and Isabella is the one who actually ducks out.
That's really going to put the hurt on the 50 car now as more cars beginning to bail out on that outside lane. And now we can see definitely about 10 cars lining up all nose to tail on the inside as they go down, looking straight down well over 200 miles an hour. You know, this is the third time we've seen these next-gen cars, and we've used them in this series here right now. But I do remember from the clash, RC Anderson, he was one of those guys with Jared Rexing. They were working that lane on the high side when we went to the first clash, and so I believe that's a place where he feels very confident, very comfortable there trying to lead that charge, but right now there's just no numbers with him.
There really isn't. We're seeing guys going a little bit below the yellow line there, so potentially a bit of a checkup on the bottom lane that could give some forward momentum to the top, but nobody's really running the top anymore now. The lead driver up there is going to be Brandon Key, who's running right now in the, let's see, where is Key? He's running in the 14th position, first car on the outside lane. So the first 14 cars, first 13 cars, all running in line here on the bottom. Really just no momentum here on the top as guys continue to bail out. Going to need some changes to be made there, as I think we saw Kendall Noah player just there now bail to the bottom line, and this could be just a little bit single file right now as guys just settle into a groove. I just don't know if you're able to make a run here without the support of a large number of other drivers, and I don't know if guys are going to be making those moves here early on in this race. We could see some single file running on the bottom of this racetrack for the majority of this race so far.
Yeah, and right now I believe guys are still trying to fill out what they believe to be their cars and how they feel. If you see a little bit of a blip from our leader there, Scott Crump has actually disappeared.
Yeah, and that's a terrifying thing if you're Chris Wright right now, because you'll see that. You just saw Josh Robin actually peek out just a little bit, because Chris Wright, you just kind of have to keep yourself floored on the accelerator and hope that Scott Crump appears in the right position in front of you. Because, he goes away. You could be still getting the draft speed from that 90 car being there. You could still be getting all of those benefits, but potentially you could be hitting that 90 car, or that could be increasing your water temps, blocking off your radiator because it's virtually there or it isn't. And man, oh man, to have a blinking car leading the race at Talladega, that's going to make your blood pressure rise here. It seems to have sorted itself out right now, but look out. If it gets worse for Scott Crump, he could be asked to be sent to the back of the pack.
That's something where he's one of those guys, he's not necessarily locked into this next round of playoffs. He needs to have a good day. He's by no means safe. Anything could happen here if he finds himself trouble. I believe, as we see Jared Rexing in that outside line, he's now trying to mount a charge there with Gerald Campbell in that 31, and that's Jacob Adams right behind him.
Yeah, so these guys all trying to, again, breathe some life into this outside lane once again, and it's kind of starting to come together just a little bit here. They're getting some runs put together. They seem very organized, especially these top three guys. Jacob Adams actually lost a little bit of time there, just as I said that, but look towards Jared Rexing and Gerald Campbell. Those two seem to be really locked on together. Of course, the other thing you have to worry about, though, of course, is temperatures. We've seen engines blow here with these next-gen cars at these racetracks, where you're really just pushing guys around. So you have to watch those water temps. You have to make sure that you're running at the right temperatures the entire day. Otherwise, you could significantly reduce your mileage, and I don't know, it just doesn't look like you're able to put together a run here on the top.
Yeah, I believe it's just going to be, it's so hard. And I believe so many people, it takes some energy and it takes some time to actually work that outside line. You know, a lot of people, I believe even watching at home, they're like, you know, why aren't they going? Why aren't more people just going? It does take some time, but once you get that run built up and established, then we really begin to see those guys start to move forward. You see actually Dale Earnhardt Jr., that 88 car, look at him trying to side draft. I believe he is a master both in real life and one of these guys in the virtual iRacing series that we've seen. Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's been able to masterfully craft the side draft, and that is get to that quarter panel and kind of pull those guys back, trying to stop the momentum in that outside line. You see him, he's not riding along on the double yellow, or just the traditional yellow line right there. It's not double yellow here. Actually, it is. Now that I take a look at it.
Let's ride on board with the Master. Yeah, let's ride on board with the Master here. So let's run a lap around Talladega with Dale Earnhardt Jr. in mid-pack here. So running to the inside, working on side drafting other drivers. This is all you can see as a driver. And let me just tell you, when you're driving here at 190 miles an hour and you can't even see turn one because of the massive spoiler of the car right in front of you, that's pretty terrifying. You don't know what's going on 3 cars in front of you because you can't see those cars right in front of you. You just have to trust that it's all kind of going to work out. And you see him actually backing out a little bit. You see him side drafting the absolute heck out of, I think that's Dallas Myhan to his right-hand side. Actually, it might be Josh Adams. And there you go. He gets this run on the inside, but now it's to check up big time. So you have to be extremely aware of your surroundings here at Talladega. Lots going on here behind the wheel.
Yeah, and he actually kind of drove away from people that were in front of him right there, and that allowed Gerald Campbell and the 10 of Jared Rexing to get back and duck in line behind the 25 right there, but they have now once again pulled out to the outside lane. He actually created a little bit of a hole right there that allowed those guys on the outside lane, as we see more aggressive side drafts in the middle of the turn. That's a place where I wouldn't dare perhaps do, but he's a 6-time winner, so maybe he knows something that we don't.
Yeah, aggressive movement there from Dale Earnhardt Jr. Just moving around the track, and you see what kind of disarray the rest of the field is kind of in right now. Guys moving all up and down here. The back of the pack, it's gotten kind of a little bit more chaotic, which is good for racing, of course, just because it means guys are able to make runs more easily. The second things get organized on any one of the lanes, it makes it much tougher to make passes. And you can see guys right now running into each other. People are getting runs here and just not timing them extremely well. And right now that's leaving a lot of checking up that's going on. Guys losing a lot of momentum here early on.
Working lap number 13 of 94, you see this big draft already beginning to inhale lap traffic. I bring that up because we have seen lap traffic play a factor in a significant portion of races here on the Elite Racing Network here. First victim of the night is going to be that 9 car, Rusty Campbell. He'll go to the outside lane, but as we perhaps don't see yellow flags, the drivers that are in the back of the field right now need to worry about perhaps losing the draft. And let's talk about that there, Rashad, how the draft plays a factor here at Talladega Super Speedway here, how you need to be in touch with the pack.
You absolutely need to be in touch with somebody here in the pack. If Rusty can hang on to something right now, I'm curious to see if we can actually get a dashboard reading. He is a little bit in the draft here, but we saw down the straightaway, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was getting about 195 miles an hour. There you can see 185 for Rusty Capel because he was out of the way trying to let guys by. Not sure if there was much lifting in there. But yeah, I mean, that just goes to show now he's kind of regrouped. He's got the draft once again. He's near some guys on the racetrack. That's important. We actually go a little bit further back. There's Brent Jones, Nick Massey, both who are running way back in the order. Nick Massey leading the way in this. He's getting some of a push, but 189 miles an hour. Scott Haney ahead of these guys, 182 miles an hour. Versus guys who are now, if we go back up into the draft, Josh Robin, 191, and take into account, he's probably checking up a little bit because he's got to stay behind these guys, not get too much of a run, but 94, 93, 95. So big speed difference. You're talking about 10, 15 miles per hour.
And that will add up quickly for this lead pack there as they continue to put down some blazingly fast laps here at about 49 seconds. We see, and Nick Massey, who's one of our playoff contenders there, perhaps a little bit in the danger zone of going a lap down. We don't see a yellow flag get caught up. We did not get a chance to talk about the tire and fuel window here. Tire window, we really don't talk much about these super speedway racetracks here. But the fuel window here, that is going to play a factor. And getting onto pit road, you know, we often see it more often than not, accident getting onto pit road, and that's because these cars are extremely hard to go from 200 miles an hour to 55 from turn 4 to the entrance of pit road.
Absolutely. You also have to consider that that running at Talladega, you're putting in the smallest brake package that comes with these cars, just to reduce that rotating mass at these massive speeds that you're running. Just again decreases rolling resistance, as allows you to run a little bit faster around here. So you don't have a ton of braking power. So the job was difficult enough as it was going down from these big speeds, but now you're talking about working with tiny brake rotors, steel brake rotors as well, so nothing fancy at all. And yeah, it's a big task. We've seen incidents happen time and time again from guys who just aren't able to slow down in time. That's one of the number one things you're working on in practice, is getting yourself slowed down, because around here, especially in the elite racing leagues and with this new package, green flag pit stops are not hard to come by. They're pretty common around here.
Right now, as we see most of the field go single file, working the bottom of the racetrack here, these guys that are behind the leader are going to be saving a little bit of fuel. It's a 90 car, Scott Crump. Well, you see Josh Robin there, pulling out the line, trying to get some air to the front of his Chevrolet. And more cars are actually poking out. That's R.C. Anderson once again with David Tooker on that outside lane, trying to make up a couple of spots. Big blip from the 90 of Scott Crump, who has led every lap here so far today. But as far as saving fuel, once you're that lead car, that's something he is not doing, and so he will have to pit earlier than these guys that are up behind him in the draft.
Yeah, guys moving to the top here. R.C. Anderson, David Tooker going all the way up the racetrack. But just the two of them, I don't think that this package works too well with tandem drafting, at least from what we're seeing so far, unless these guys are really on it, and I just don't think they are. There you see David Tooker just trying to get some fresh air into that car, and oh wow, that's really aggressive there. R.C. Anderson slots back inside.
That was not there, I believe, but he made it work, and unfortunately David Tooker, or maybe wisely, did not follow him, because there was barely room enough for one car, let alone two.
Man, oh man, how about that? So R.C. Anderson, slots back in line there. David Tooker, meanwhile, has to slot a few positions back. He does find a position, though, on this bottom lane down in the 18th spot. RC up into 13th right now. But really just no movement throughout this field. There's a little bit going on here in the back, but right now, I mean, if you're talking 10th, 11th, 12th on up, it's all single file, and you can see this here from all of these guys, just no movement at all. Josh Robin having to just kind of dive a little bit below that yellow line, and these guys pushing hard up front, but just not able to put together a run or anything quite like that. And the blinking for Scott Crump has not stopped quite yet. Don't know if there's any complaints from Chris Wright as of yet, but we are on lap 19 here of 94, and this could potentially cause problems for these guys later on in this event as the racing starts heating up and picking up just a little bit, if Scott Crump continues to blink like that.
Yeah, that's got to be something on the mind of the 20 car, where that 90 car magically appears and reappears, as we see some further commotion back some of these Pro Edge cars working together. We see the 28, that's Joshua Clark and David Tooker. Those are teammates. They brought along, I believe, the 12, as actually Tooker slid underneath. There's his teammate as well, trying to go with him. They've left out the 12 car.
Yeah, that was a little bit close between those two there. Josh Clark and I think it was David Tooker were both just a little bit close there. Diving to that bottom, you see them now picking up Matthew Weeks. They've also got Gerald Campbell with them on the top. Not sure. Like, I know Pro Edge is going to work together. They're going to try and form something up on the top lane. We saw this happen in the Daytona 500. This exact same strategy that they ran. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out. They weren't able to put together a ton of a run because even though they are a large team here, they've got 4 guys. They've got a couple of other alliances that they can work with. I know they work with a couple of Chevy teams, and possibly here even with Gerald Campbell and the Aggressive Eagle Motorsports guys. But just, I don't know if there's enough manpower. As around goes Josh Clark, including Alec Balvins. They're off the racetrack, so that might not bring out a caution.
Slide in and more.
There it is, caution flag.
Michael Holsack with a hellacious crash on the backstretch. He gets into the 5. and that will bring out our first caution flag of the night. And I believe Jacob Adams in the 25, one of our championship contenders, is involved.
Oh boy, that's huge there. So there's the crash for Joshua Clark. We want to see what happened. It was another incident that just happened as everyone was checking up, and there you see a ton of cars involved in that one. Way too much smoke to read out exactly who's all there. But let's see, the 5 car of Alec Balvans. You've got the 25 of Jacob Adams. That's the 10, I think, of Jared Rexing involved.
Yes, Jared Rexing involved as well. So 2 championship contenders. Rexing, thankfully, with that win last week, that won't be an issue for him. But that is exactly why our voice goes up an octave here. There is not a safe spot on this racetrack. That was down the backstretch there, Rashad, when that trouble broke out. And that was 2 separate crashes at the same time. Jared Rexing gets turned by it looks like the 25 of Jared, Jacob Adams.
It was the 29 of Chad Thornquist. I was actually just going to show that camera again here. There you'll see. Or the 92, excuse me. The 92 of Chad Thornquist gets there. They're all checking up, I think. Thornquist ends up hitting the 10 car. Who else? So you got the 03 car there, I think, involved. Or the 08, excuse me. No, who is that? That was the 03, it almost looked like. Not too sure. Who else? Brent Jones makes it through that. Nick Massey makes it through that okay. Chad Thornquist is through there okay. Mark Keeler survives. Not too sure who all grabbed some damage in that one. Oh, there you go, the 83. Excuse me, not the 03, the 83. Daniel Martinez involved in that. The 13 car, you can see there, Brody Moore with damage as well. A ton of cars. Big damage there. And as we go back to live pictures, we've got the entire field here coming down pit road.
This is an important part here. What you do right now could dictate what you take later on. Perhaps fuel only, no tires as well. But I think we're going to see 4 tires and Sunoco fuel going in all these cars. And Scott Crump, the 90 car, pole sitter there, you see him have to back up. That's going to cost him time on the pit stop.
Yes, it will. And Andrew Rucker, in fact, misses his pit stall, so he's going to stay out there. Harrison Talon is going to win the race off pit road there. Is that right? Let's see once we get all the pit stop time. No, Talon as well also misses his pit box, so Crump does still win the race off of pit road. Jeff Green second there off of pit road. Robin, Earnhardt, Wright, and Lytle then. So really surprising. Despite the mistake then, Scott Crump still wins the race off pit road.
Good news for Rucker is that he was able to lead a lap. And so he'll get a bonus point that you never know might be able to be used if he finds himself in trouble later on. I believe so, because where the start-finish line is, he was the first car on pit road, and so he's been scored as the leader. So I do believe he was able to get that lap. But the question is, if pit road open once again, I think we will take another lap. So he and the 23 should be able to go back onto pit road and get service.
Yeah, he should be good to go in terms of that. I wasn't sure if he was leading, but you're right. The start-finish line being a little bit later here at Talladega should have saved Andrew Rucker and allowed him, I believe, to grab that lap-led point. So a little bit of a bonus for him there from that kind of mistake, I guess, of missing his pit box, but he should be able to now come back down, get service. Same with Harrison Talon here in the 23, and then get back up and running. So Scott Crump then will lead Jeff Green, Josh Robin, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. They'll be your top 4 once everybody else cycles around.
Under caution here for the first time tonight here, the Sonesta 250 right here at Talladega Super Speedway. That gives us a chance to go ahead and pay some of the bills, so don't go anywhere. You are watching the last race of round of 14 here for the Elite Racing Network. We'll sort it out for you when we come back.
Onto pit road is Andrew Rucker, and with that, I want to thank our other 2 premier sponsors here at the Elite Racing League, starting with C2 Freight Resources. C2 Freight offers complete freight management services. they're ready to meet your needs today as well as your changing needs in the future. With thousands of qualified carriers in their database, they're capable of handling shipping from every type of good, from perishable foods to office equipment. Whatever you need to ship, they have access to the necessary equipment. Check out C2 Freight Resources, proud premier sponsor here of the Elite Racing Leagues, and of course proud sponsor of Jeff Green in this number 38 car. Next up, of course, we've got Blue Egg Marketing, proud sponsor of the 40 here with Tyler Foti. Blue Egg Marketing is the marketing department for small businesses. If you're a small business owner, then Blue Egg Marketing is your biggest fan. Whatever your constraints are, they help catalyze creativity, and they'll help your business punch well above their weight class. Check out Blue Egg Marketing, another proud premier sponsor here of the Elite Racing Leagues and the Elite Racing Network. Lights are out on the pace car, Alex, and we're about to get underway here for the first time here with a restart. Curious to see how this goes with Scott Crump and Jeff Green leading the field back to green.
Yeah, Scott Crump still with that limping issue. We'll keep an eye on there and take a look at that second row, inching ever so closer. That 8-car Josh Robin and that 88 Dale Earnhardt Jr., who we know has been aggressive in trying to stop the advance on that outside lane. Let's see how well he'll be able to do working that outside lane here as we get the first restart underway. Pace car heading for cover. Scott Crump hard on the loud pedal. And we are back underway as they go through the tri-oval really slowly. That 90 car, he has the ability to restart at any point. And they are still just now into what would be the Geico restart zone. And now underway here at Talladega Superspeedway once more.
So Scott Crump again late on the gas pedal, but look at that, the entire top lane bails out. It is just Jeff Green and Dale Earnhardt Jr. up on the top, and even them, they're both going backwards right now. Expect there, you see Dale Jr. backs out to the bottom there, trying to stay in line with the rest of these guys. Maybe a bit of a run here for Alexander Van de Sant, but he backs in as well. Jeff Green back in line, and the rest of the field all single-filed all the way through here. Looks like the first potentially car on the outside there is Vincent Isabella in the 29, but even he is going to slot back in line. There you see single file pretty much all the way through. A couple of 2-wide back there, but very early on, everybody just settling back into the groove here of this race.
Yeah, and I believe that's just something we're going to see with these early cautions here right now, but late in this race, we will see when push comes to shove, as we see Scott Crump still leading this field underneath the green flag. The 20 car, Chris Wright, and the 8 car, Josh Robin. Josh Robin is one of those guys, he's not one of the playoff contenders, but keep an eye on him because that is a guy that is hungry for a win here, and it could happen here tonight.
Absolutely. Robin's always in contention here at these super speedway tracks. Has a couple of other tracks that we definitely look out for him at as well, but really loves these 2.5 and larger style tracks, the restrictor plates, the tapered spacer type tracks, whatever you want to call them. He's just really strong here and running strong right now in second place. Gained a position there on Chris Wright off of pit road, and we'll see what he can do here now, pushing Scott Crump around this racetrack. Don't expect him to make a move, though. Again, we kind of expect you're going to need a lot of support if you want to try and jump out and take on that air. These wings, this aero package right now just seems to be pretty rough for drivers if you try and go out into air yourself. You're much better, of course, running in the draft here, and we're seeing that right now as it's the entire field single file all the way through.
Yeah, these drivers are still, they're a little bit antsy to try and get up to the point, but they don't want to be one of those first guys to make that move here, especially just this early. There just really is no benefit in trying to get to the outside lane here and get it working if everybody's on the bottom of the racetrack. And we've seen our first crash really happen from that outside lane already. So I think that's going to settle these guys down for just a little bit as we see more connection issues for the 90, our leader up front.
Absolutely, yeah. And so from that point of view, kind of tough to say exactly what's what to look out for right now, because in terms of action on the racetrack, very little. As I say that,
hard
though,
flashed. I believe that's the 19 of David Tooker.
It is.
It is.
Huge
My
playoff
goodness,
implications.
another championship contender involved in a crash. The yellow flag is back out, and that, as you had mentioned there, Rashov, huge implications for the 19. Let's take a look and see what happened as we exit of turn 2. He gets sandwiched hard into the outside wall.
Yeah, it looks like Mark Keeler just kind of keeps going up there on the racetrack. Let's see if we can grab another angle of that. So here's the 8 car of Keeler. Gets checked up by Chad Frankenfield and then has to go up the racetrack, hits David Tooker. I wonder if Frankenfield got checked up by another driver there. Let's take a look here.
It looked like Nick Massey, or was it Harrison Talon? Excuse me.
Harrison Talon checks up Chad potentially. So just a huge checkup here on the bottom. You see Keeler goes up to the top, gets loose, and drives straight into the 19 of David Tooker with nowhere to go. Tooker was trying to go all the way up to avoid all of this checkup on the bottom. And unfortunately, Keeler just kind of lost it, went up to the top as well, taking out that 19 car.
That is a classic, what we would call accordion-like wreck here at Talladega Superspeedway. As we go back to live pictures right there, or excuse me, that was another replay, but there is some major damage. Now we're back to live pictures on that 19. One of our drivers who is not safe making it into the next round. Rashaf, you have to go back to what perhaps might have been a safe spot for the 19 by winning at Sonoma. He wouldn't have to worry about Talladega Superspeedway. Now he's been put in a place, a hole that he has to dig out of.
Yeah, this isn't great for David Tooker here, and we were just talking about before this race just how close the battle is amongst the guys. So right now, he can still stay in this race and he can still be in this race. The biggest question mark though is he has to just run well, and he has to hope that the winner of this race is not somebody from that bottom 5, because I think right now he's going to slot towards the back of the top 9 who are in. He can still make his way through and advance in this race. Assuming that car isn't completely done for the day, he can still probably grab a top 25, top 20 finish with some luck. What he has to worry about, though, is one of those guys, that we were talking about there, outside of the top 5 or outside of the top 9, advancing and making it through by winning.
Pit road is open, and he will take his Toyota Camry wounded onto pit road and try to fix some of that damage. No fast repairs for any of these cars here, so they will have to fix that damage in real time as we take a look at the points.
We'll see if we can get our points here updated for you guys, get them live. Gonna see if we can make some adjustments to them as the race goes on, but no promises there. Unfortunately, our previous points, live point system seems to be a little bit damaged in terms of the ability that it can give us, but we'll do our best to keep you guys up to date.
So, caution number 2 of the night, working lap 30.94, about 1/3 quarter of the race distance here at Talladega Superspeedway. Up front, it has been the 90 car Scott Crump. You see Josh Robin and Chris Wright, Tate Lytle, championship point leader there, already safely into the next round. He's about the only guy that could probably is just riding along with not a care in the world right now. Jeff Green, 2000 Xfinity Series champion, in the 5th position. Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's been able to gain 8 positions from his qualifying position, solidly inside the top 10, running long in 6th. Tyler Fody in the 7th position. Gerald Campbell, a reigning champ, in 8th. Kendall Noah player, he knows how to get it done on these super speedway racetracks. Winner at Daytona a couple of seasons ago. He's in the 9th position, up 30 positions from where he qualified. And then Mark Robbins there in the 96. He is running long in the top 10.
Yep, so Light's still on the pace car here, so getting at least one more lap here, probably just a single lap extra before we get back to our green flags running here. So, again, we'll continue to just see if we can sort out our point systems. Could take just a few minutes here, so apologies for that. But hopefully we'll get them down here in just a few minutes' time.
Well, while we are under this second caution flag, let's do some trivia for you guys. And I know we have a lot of folks that are watching on YouTube, so I'll be curious to see if anybody knows the answer here. I'll just throw this out here. When was the last time we had a caution-free race here at Talladega Superspeedway? Rashaf, I'll even put you on the spot. Do you know?
I've got no clue, honestly. You know, I mean, we've talked about this on the air. I don't have the
we'll get back to that in a minute. But if any of you guys on YouTube, bonus points if you can even name the winner. But name the year that was the last Cup Series race to go caution free.
Whoops, just realized I had my mic wasn't muted for the broadcast, so they all heard me, but I was muted for you there, Alex. So apologies. Accidentally hit that mute button, but I was going to say, you know me, I got nothing in terms of the history stuff here in NASCAR.
Well, I'll give it a hint. The winner is in this field.
Oh, okay. I mean, I couldn't tell you the years that Dale won, though, unfortunately, so...
I'll let you guys know here. Just give me. I'll work in a lap 40 to give people a chance. But yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr. did win that race. But what's the year? That will be the question. So shout us out on YouTube. I'll be reading out some of your comments there as well. All right. So Scott Crump still blinking. That is an issue that has not yet solved itself for that 90 car and could perhaps play a factor toward the end of this one here, as far as any drafting help or assistance. You see Josh Robin, that 80 car. Tate Lytle's going to line up in the outside lane as well. And then Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car. You see Chris Wright in the 38 of Jeff Green will be on the inside as the pace car is about to duck for cover. We have seen some late starts by the 90 car. He hasn't really fired off until the middle of the tri-oval.
Yeah, let's see what he does here this time by, as we're already approaching here a third distance, or pretty much just hit a third distance in this race. So here we go. Scott Crump going to lead the field back to green. Once again, a great jump he gets on the 8 car of Josh Robin. And that could give Chris Wright the chance to now slot in line. And there goes Alexander Van de Sant. Josh Robin left out to dry here early on.
That is not going to be a fun feeling. He needs to get to the bottom, and he needs to do it quickly. He might have a hole in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr., but as we say that, no, it fills up just like that. And the 38 of Jeff Green also going to occupy that spot. And now the 8 car really has to rely on somebody cutting him a break. It looks like Gerald Campbell in that 31 car does. The 97 car, Alexander Van de Sant, he's the next car on the outside looking in, and he needs to space in line before he gets drop kicked to the rear of the field.
Absolutely. So once again, everybody lined up inside the top 10. Looks like, well, probably even beyond that. So the first guy outside, that is actually, it's Alexander Van de Sant, who's out. Oh, and Harrison Talon hits Van de Sant. That's another chaser involved in an incident.
Crash coming through the tri-oval, entering turn number 1, and Alexander Van de Sant, the latest victim here at Talladega as far as playoff contenders trying to survive tonight.
Let's take a look there. We were just watching, so there goes Harrison Talon gets sent. There's the 23 involved, the 10 car of Jared Rexing again involved in another big hit. Let's see who else got caught up in that. Zach Evans looks like he got caught up as well. He was just behind this. There's the checkup.
Oh, and a big hit.
Oh, that's Brandon Key.
Brandon Key also involved, so make that 2 championship contenders.
Oh my gosh.
The 10 car Jared Rexing with major damage as well. His night might be done with that, but this is the fear that we have with Talladega Super Speedway. You see the pace car there just run through. That always takes me out just for a second. But
the most aggressive driver in the field is always the pace car.
Let me get to the front.
Oh,
unfortunately, we wonder why so many people try to shuffle down to the bottom of the racetrack. That is why. It worked out for the 8 car. It did not work out for the 97.
Oh, that's not a good sign. You can see there the puffs of smoke coming from the 97. I think it's day over here for Alexander Van de Sant. That damage is going to be significant. It was a hard hit. We saw that. But a lot of the times you can sometimes come back and repair that. But look at that. That car, I think, is going to be done for the day. And that could be Alexander Van de Sant's title hopes dashed.
It all relies on how the other competitors shake out here, but my goodness, I mean, this is the exact fear. Once Talladega was announced as a cutoff race, you had to do everything in your power to be in good standing as far as Sonoma and Richmond. I believe this is one of the hardest rounds, one of the hardest first rounds I've ever seen in any type of league elimination style racing with the championship on the line. I mean, these guys, everything is on the line right now, and unfortunately, the 97 car, who's had some runs of good luck, I think he finished inside the top 10 at Richmond. I believe he was 9th at Sonoma as well. Was the pole setter at Sonoma. That's just unfortunate there, as we are under caution now for the 3rd time here tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. Whew.
I'm running out, I believe, of our championship contenders. I'm trying to write down. I know we've had Jared Rexing involved. We had Brandon Key involved.
We had Van de Sant.
Tucker.
Jacob Adams was in a crash earlier as well. He's still on pit road, or was it this? No, he was in a previous crash. Johnny Thomas is out on the racetrack, and this beautiful-looking Manscaped car, he's got some damage on it. But new paint scheme for Johnny Thomas. We haven't actually mentioned that here so far today, but looks to be relatively okay and should run still all right. A little bit of damage, though, to the left rear on that car. But I think those are the main cars that were completely taken out. There's Brandon Key still on pit road. Van de Sant still on pit road. Jared Rexing still on pit road. David Tucker still on pit road. Jacob Adams still on pit road. Man, that's brutal for these guys.
Talking about Talladega being an opportunity for these guys to perhaps have a good day, but it very much is an opportunity to also have a bad day. You ask any driver in the field what percentage of their destiny do they feel they can control while racing here. I bet you every driver would say one number, and that would be 0.
Absolutely.
You're such at the mercy of all the cars around you, more so than any other track we run at.
Just a reminder for you guys here of what that point situation looks like coming into the race. So again, the guys we're talking about, Jacob Adams, Brandon Key, both involved in incidents here. Chuck Sweeting not racing tonight as far as I can tell. But the guys we're really looking at, Alexander Van de Sant, with big issues. Jared Rexing was clear. He's okay to advance to the next round. But David Tucker, Van de Sant, both of those guys are barely clear of that cut line. So look out for what they have to watch as well, as this race continues to play out. So
Van de Sant actually entered with the highest number of points you could of the guys that were not locked in. And so that's going to help buffer a little bit because of that impact, but it by no means keeps him from not being able to be solidly inside right now, currently. He's got to be feeling the stir, and I believe you're right. I believe he's actually done for the day. So his fate actually lies in the hands of the drivers that are still out on the track.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just have to hope that, again, like I was saying, the guys who are out of the chase picture right now, who are out of advancing, don't go on to win, because that suddenly makes things really, really difficult.
So we have seen the importance of what it means to be on the inside row and how drivers should do anything to try and establish themselves if they find themselves on the outside lane.
Yeah.
This is the first time that we're going to see Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually restart on the bottom of the racetrack. He has been on the outside for the 2 restarts that we have had. And if history is to repeat itself, we should see the 90, the 56, and the 88 take off in the 1, 2, 3 position there. We'll see if the 38 car, I've been keeping an eye on Jeff Green, he and the 88 car perhaps, if there is some friendliness going on between those guys, perhaps the 88 will let that 38 car in. We'll find out here in just half a lap.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take a look and see exactly what how this plays out, what alliances are going out on the racetrack. Remember, these guys do also have some communication with each other, on the racetrack. So not even just within your team, but also with other drivers there within the iRacing chat room. So, could be some alliances for me here, guys working or at least talking about what their plans are moving through this race. But we'll kind of take a look and see exactly how this plays out here. I'm going to watch Tate Lytle here as we get restarted here. Tate, very unlucky on these super speedways. Very rarely has a good run, I think, at these types of racetracks. So we'll see what the call is here for the 56 and if he can stay up front all race long. But nice to see him restarting in the 3rd position for right now. Just behind Scott Crump, could get a good runaway here. For Dale Jr., he might be looking to possibly be 3rd by the end of this restart, grabbing another couple of positions on these guys if the inside line gets away pretty early.
Scott Crump, he's been waiting to fire off until right about just there. And he does so once again for a more tight formation on that outside line a little bit. We saw the 40 and the 38 car, and I think the 40 is actually going to allow his teammate to jump in. The question is, can the 20 car of Chris Wright follow suit, as we see once again what we thought would happen with Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tate Lytle, and Jeff Green all working to the inside line. That guy on the outside, my goodness.
Oh, poor Chris Wright.
Like a rock.
Yeah, here we go. Watch, this is just a free fall now for Chris Wright down the order. Restarted in the...
Lytle. Oh, got a car turned. I believe that was Brandon Key or one of the belly-up cars. Not Brandon Key, but
Kyle
his
Hanshaw.
teammate there.
Kyle Hanshaw. But yeah.
Got turned on the backstretch. And Tate Lytle, he actually poked out a line. Dale Jr. did not go with him. And now Jr. up to second place behind a blinking Scott Crump in the 38 car of Jeff Green behind him.
Yeah, could potentially see some teamwork here right now from Dale Jr., Jeff Green, Tyler Fody. These guys all getting together on the racetrack. Could they overpower Scott Crump here if all of them make the move to go to the top? I don't quite think they'll have enough power unless they take a large number of drivers here. But you can see Dale Jr. is pushing Scott Crump. He's getting aggressive here with this 90 car. He wants to take this lead, and I'm sure the virtual fans here at Talladega, and I'm sure the fans watching from home all would love to see this here, this 88 car, looking to try and move forward here on lap 38 of this race here at Talladega.
Yeah, Scott Crump, the lone Toyota inside the top 5, trying to fend off a determined couple of bow ties there, make it 3, and then you have Gerald Campbell in a 4, so all manufacturers represented well inside the top 5, but something that's got to be on the mind of Dale Earnhardt Jr., what do you do when the car you're pushing and want to get around suddenly disappears?
Yeah, that's the tricky question, isn't it, man? I have absolutely no idea what you can do. Yeah, oh boy. You just kind of have to hope that car comes back exactly where you think it's going to be, and otherwise it's going to cause a massive incident. So, you know, a lot of questions there from these drivers in terms of what could be happening, you know, when this all takes place.
And while we're talking about that second place, I believe that's kind of a danger zone spot as well with how the caution flags have played out. You might not necessarily want to restart in second place because every driver so far that has ended up outside of the top 10. You see Chris Wright still hanging on. He's on the tail end of this lead pack right now currently, all the way back in the 13th position. He had restarted second to make it 3 laps ago.
Yeah, here we go. You see Josh Robin peeks out big time, but maybe just getting some clean air in there. Look at just how close Dale Jr. is to Scott Crump's car. I wonder if Dale's getting enough you know, air into the radiator there, if he's staying cool behind Scott Crump. I'm sure, obviously, he knows what he's doing there. And you do see him kind of duck out there just to grab a little bit of clean air. Maybe that's at the kind of the right point to be doing so, but yeah, really interesting to see right now. Again, guys, though, just running in line. You know, not really any movement, but you can tell that 88 car looks quick. He feels quick. I think he wants to make a move, but the package just isn't quite allowing him to do so.
Well, my next question here, Rashad, do you get clean air when he is, you know, suddenly not there? Or does the draft iRacing model still work even though his car physically is not seen on the track?
You know, that is a fantastic question. I've got absolutely no idea.
He might be wishing that the 90 car is not there to get some clean air on that radiator. As we're actually seeing a little bit of daylight. This first pack has actually driven away about 13 cars in front of that second pack. Wouldn't that be something for Dale Earnhardt Jr., his first time with the Elite Racing Network, to try and get a win here tonight? I mean, that would be a great storyline. I know this is a man that for much of my life, much of my career, he was the guy to beat here at Talladega Super Speedway. They call him the Pied Piper, and rightfully so. Anytime, anywhere that car went, you were to follow it. And he's the only driver to win 4 races in a row from the 2002 to the 2004 season. And his last win coming here back in 2015 in that 88. Again, second on the all-time list, tied with Jeff Gordon and Brad Keselowski. the man with the most wins, that would be his father, with 10.
Yeah, absolutely crazy there. You know, people tell you that plate racing is all luck, but very clearly it isn't. When you look at the list of names of guys who are successful around these types of racetracks, you have to be a certain elite level of racing driver to be good around here, and to have that large number of wins. Dale Jr., Dale Earnhardt Sr., as you see Scott Crump blinking again, but the other names you mentioned, Jeff Gordon, Brad Keselowski, all huge names in this sport. But speaking of Dale Jr. here, as we get another blink from Scott Crump, the trivia question you asked a few minutes ago, looks like we have an answer here on Twitter. And shout out to Lindsay. I mean, you'll tell me if this is right, but seeing as it was retweeted a couple of times here, the answer is the fall 2002 race, winner Dale Jr., no cautions. Lindsay, who commented on Twitter, was actually at that race.
Oh, and yes, that is correct. That is the last caution-free race in NASCAR, and perhaps ever, considering now that we have the stage breaks that ensure that we have at least 2 yellow flags and 2 restarts for drivers here. But yes, the last caution-free race to be run for the Cup Series, won by Dale Earnhardt back in the year 2002. I remember the start of that race there, Rashad, and I believe I was only like 8 years old or so, and I remember it being weird because during the pace laps, there was no action on the track, but during the pace laps, it was Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin that were on the front row, and something happened with Mark's steering, and right through the center of the tri-oval, it locked up, and he suddenly spun out right into the path of Jimmy Johnson. Cars ended up being damaged. They did not take the green flag, and they never got their laps back because it was a caution-free race.
Very interesting. How about that? So, I mean, tons of fun trivia from that event, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just something. I love Talladega Superspeedway. This is definitely one of the best tracks, I believe, that puts on one of the best shows. We saw that virtually. We've seen that virtually on iRacing. We've seen that in the real world, with the latest being Bubba Wallace. How about the last weekend we actually saw at Talladega Superspeedway? The first time in NASCAR that all 3 series had the first-time winner. Tate Fogelman in the Truck Series, and then Brandon Brown getting it done in the Xfinity, and then Bubba Wallace. Of course, how historical that win was. Even though it was rain shortened, a chance to see that 23-car in victory lane, that was mighty big. So anytime you can win here at Talladega Superspeedway, it's NASCAR's biggest stage. You've done something in your career.
Yeah, it really is just impressive, to have that happen. And I think that was a great shot in the arm for NASCAR to have all of those first-time winners. Kind of allowed for more attention to be given to more drivers out in the field, and we're doing that a little bit just here right now, watching the second pack just race along. Chad Frankenfield, Andrew Rucker, Johnny Thomas, Vincent Isabella, Matthew Weeks. This is a dangerous group. Robert Hill Jr. as well, subbing in for David Westergreen in the 12 car. But a dangerous group of drivers right here, all of them who've had success here at super speedways, looking to potentially just kind of make some moves here late in the race, but just running on their own in this back pack.
And they've actually lost touch with that lead pack, still led by Scott Crump. If we're working lap 47, that's important because we are now officially about halfway in tonight's scheduled race. That means we will have an official race, although there really is no threat of rain. I know iRacing is actually working on a model that would have rain. Let's leave that out of here. We need to add any more unnecessary drama. Dale Earnhardt Jr., though, he is determined. I don't know if he's determined to get around or just to be on the back bumper of that 90 car to let him know he is there. Scott Crump, he cannot be feeling very comfortable in the lead with a 6-time winner right behind him.
No, you certainly can't feel that comfortable. I mean, it's you've got to be nervous. You've got to be on edge the entire time around just because you've got a guy pushing you. You've got to be ready to take those pushes as well. So lots to be worried about. I mean, everywhere in this field you have to be right on maximum alert. So really tough for any moment of your, to just kind of chill a little bit and be able to, just relax. You're kind of on edge the entire way around this racetrack. It does get pretty hairy very quickly.
And let's talk a little bit about that, how even though these guys are single file, it is not just stand on the gas and turn left. These guys have to control their runs, make sure that you're, keeping in touch with the lead pack. Also make sure that you're not hitting that guy in front of you too hard. You can spin them out if you hit them in the wrong way. You get to the quarter panel, these guys, it'll turn them, and that's something that will take the steering wheel out of your hand, very much so dramatically, if you get hit in the wrong way on this racetrack.
Yeah, it absolutely can. There's certain ways that you can get bumped, and yeah, it just kind of grabs the steering wheel out of your hands. There's not much you can do, and we've seen that guys, if you lose that rear end on these cars, you're really just a passenger here. And so yeah, there's a lot to be worried about, that's for sure. But interesting to note. Okay, never mind. Just saw a couple of other yellow cars. I think I was looking at Dallas Myhan there, who's in a yellow car. I thought that second pack had caught up with the leaders and was about to say, man, look at the pace that these guys are rolling with.
But something I see that's catching my eye there, Rashad, lap traffic ahead, and with these guys, the lead pack lapping is going at about 49 seconds. They are going to catch those cars that have been left outside of the draft here in a hurry. The question is, where do they go? Are they going to be running on the top side? Will that not disturb this lead pack who has been predominantly on the bottom of this track? If we have guys, you see, and there's a big group of them, if they decide to hold their line, what do you do here, the 90 car? Can Dale Earnhardt Jr. try and get around him? I think we're going to see in just a short little bit what these guys are willing to do to try and get the lead and perhaps get some positions on the racetrack here once they go around some of this lap traffic.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean that's kind of your opportunity here if you're Dale Earnhardt Jr. To try and get by these lapped cars, try and get by somebody, make something work. Meanwhile, you're already seeing guys maybe start to set something up. R.C. Anderson here trying to potentially work on Dallas Myhan with the help of Chris Wright and Tate Lytle. It doesn't quite work for these guys just there. But yeah, absolutely, this could get very interesting very quickly.
Right now, they're right on the back bumper. They're going to work to the top of the racetrack. You see Scott Crump is there, and suddenly the energy is picked up as these guys go to the middle lane. R.C. Anderson with Chris Wright. They were not close enough to try and take advantage of that. But now, where does the 90 car in front of them, do they decide to duck back down? And some of these guys, will they be left outside as they engulf this 4-car lap traffic into the lead draft? Looks like no harm, no foul for these guys, but some of these guys are still trying to clear that traffic, and R.C. Anderson is going to leave Chris Wright out to dry right there. As most of the field is able to clear that lap traffic, R.C. Anderson is actually still going to try and allow some of those guys behind him to sniff that draft right there. You see them get around the 37 car, Ethan Burrell.
So there you go. So R.C. Anderson kind of separate a little bit from the rest of the pack. Here we go. We've got some of these lapped cars hidden in this mix. Still no movement up front as they've mostly passed all of these guys. We'll take a look and see where the next group of cars is on the racetrack. So there are leaders. We're watching Dale Earnhardt Jr., Scott Crump, a long way to that next group of lapped cars here. So no major changes in the groupings up front. And they've got a long way to go before catching the next car, the number 3 of Scott Haney.
Jr., Jeff Green, Tyler Foley, all 3 bow ties there. Still not making an effort or a move to get around the 90 car Scott Crump here. We last went green on lap number 36, so that's going to put about 3 laps, 20 laps here, and we could be talking about another attempt at green flag pit stops. I believe we'll have about 25 more laps to go before we see that. Question is, what do these guys decide to take? And let's talk about that here, Rashad. A number of these drivers in a Discord chat, so they're able to talk with one another here. What does that conversation look like or sound like to these guys right here when getting on and off pit road? Because getting on to pit road, Talladega is much different than at a 1.5-mile track or even a short track.
Yeah, it is. And so you've got to, obviously, the first thing you need to do is make it clear to the other drivers around here that you're not in a Discord chat when you're planning to pit. Normally you can wait to do that kind of on the lap that you pit, so you at least keep some of that secrecy. But primarily you're talking with your team. You guys are all putting together something here to say, okay, we're all going to come down at the same time, because you want to make sure that you all have a draft You're all working closely together. You're all close together on track. You're all in position to kind of dive off the track at the last second there to make that pit stop. So that's the primary thing you're kind of discussing in your Discord chat. You're also, of course, talking about fuel consumption rates and fuel mileage, what you're getting from each of these drivers, because at the end of the day, you kind of are hopefully, getting different numbers, in a perfect world, you get the same number, but you're hopefully getting different numbers where you can start to talk with each other and say, hey, what are you doing different that maybe if someone's getting more fuel mileage, you guys are able to kind of meet that fuel number or change things around here. But it obviously varies depending on where you're running on the racetrack, who you're racing around, how much you really need to be running full throttle.
And the 90 car, even with Blimping, he's been leading the most laps, and so Dale Jr. behind him, he's been able to save a little bit more fuel, and that can also be a factor where if that 90 car has to go down pit road by himself, and these guys that have been able to stay behind him and draft a little bit longer, that could put that 90 car in a world of hurt, because he could find himself on pit road with no drafting assistance, and then that means he would be at the tail end of this pack.
Yeah.
If at all.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a huge disadvantage. We saw earlier in the show, right? I mean, we're talking 10, 15 miles an hour disadvantage if you don't have a drafting buddy. So that's that's something these guys need to watch out for. So if you're Scott Crump, surely by this point he's got to start talking to other drivers in the field, or he's already talked to drivers in the field to say, hey, when I come down, you guys are coming with me so we can continue to work together. But yeah, man, this gets really interesting if you're in his position, because he doesn't have a team that he typically works with, at least I don't believe. Kind of runs as an independent here in this league, so that could get dangerous here for Scott Crump, who's led every lap here so far, or almost every lap here so far tonight.
Single file, the front five, as they come across more lap traffic. You see the 08 and Scott Haney in that outside lane. But action is picking up in the back half of that lead pack right now, currently, as we see a 5-car breakaway at the front of the field, still led by Scott Crump. There's Dale Earnhardt Jr. running along in the second position, has still yet to try and muscle his way around the 90 car. But I'm seeing, I believe we're getting to the end of this race here, Rashav. I don't believe these guys are going to be just waiting around for long. I think people are starting to want to make positions there, especially get themselves in proper position before we get to the pit stop, the final stop of the night.
Yeah, guys just trying to get themselves sorted out for the most part. But I love this run, this attempt here by R.C. Anderson with the help of Chris Wright, Tate Lytle on the top line. These guys have been trying all race long, or at least on this run specifically, just to try and every single couple of laps making a move to the top lane, trying to see if they can get some momentum. They're running pretty well right now. If they can get to that gap there in front of Tyler Fode, that'd be incredible for them to slot in, but I don't quite think they're going to pull away that far forward. They've kind of lost a little bit of that organization on the top, but always
Yellow
fun to see.
Yellow flag number 4 is out.
Oh.
Caution flag. So just as we were about to talk about green flag pit stops, we will not have one. And
whoa!
Ethan Burrell suddenly just blows up in front of 4 competitors, and I believe that was the 99 of Brandon Key.
Yeah, he's already had a bad day. Nick Massey also involved in that. What the heck happened to the 37? Yeah, just the engine blew up. Yeah. Wow, Massey involved in that. So that's another chaser.
All 4 caution flags tonight have had a championship contender involved. Nick Massey, major front-end damage and nowhere to go once the 37 guard just blew up in front of that lead pack. These guys were well outside of the draft. You have to wonder what happened to the 37 car, and there's no indication when that happens.
Yeah, so it's Jordan Owens who's driving the 37 car right here. Let's actually we'll stop that and roll back. No worries. Ethan Burrell normally running that 37 Domino's paint scheme. Let's just take a look here again, and I mean, absolutely no warning by the look of it here for Jordan Owens in this car.
See the 99 already heavily damaged in the back half. He's going to find out the front half is about to match right here.
Yeah, there you go. Just very sudden puff of smoke from the 37 and massive drop in acceleration. And you can't put that on the 37, of course. I mean, you didn't see that one coming. He was in clean air as well. That's really intriguing.
And I know, this takes me back to, I believe, last year during the pandemic when we had on board, when we had the iRacing series go on. I remember Clint Boyer kind of blew up, kind of that. Although there were blinking lights and everything, you have to wonder if there was any indication that that might go, or would you have just such a sudden engine failure like that? Is that something that's happens in iRacing? That was very odd.
Yeah,
Race
really.
off of pit road is going to be here important. We'll see if the 90 car can keep in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's going to lose a position. Jr. looks like he may have beat Jeff Green. Scott Crump. Yes,
Ooh.
Dale Jr.
How about that? I'm sure the crowd is going wild. The virtual crowd here at Talladega. Oh, man. Dale Jr., what a great job there on and off of pit road. Let's take a look at the pit stop time there, 14.3. So actually stationary time wasn't that impressive, but look at that on and off of pit road, 40.7 seconds, just a tenth of a second faster than Jeff Green. Scott Crump really slow on and off of pit road, 42.7, loses those positions. Tyler Fode moves forward as well. Fode, Green, and Earnhardt, look at that exceptional pace there on pit road. The rest of these guys in the 41s, these guys all sub 41 in terms of their pit road time.
And the virtual crowd goes wild as Dale Earnhardt Jr. now leading here at Talladega. It's just right with the world.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, what a job he's been doing. This is incredible here. Just slowly methodically working his way up the order on each restart, kind of getting that track position. And yeah, here we go. Now he's leading the way at Talladega. Got a lapped car there in between himself and the pace car, but no, he's going to dictate, when we go back to green flag racing. And how about this? I mean, how about a throwback to the early 2000s? Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Green are leading the way at Talladega.
Yeah, am I in the year 2021, or have we traveled back in time? The fact that we are able to talk about such pioneers in our sport, such Jeff Green, the 2000 Xfinity Series champion, Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 6-time winner here at Talladega Superspeedway, both going to be on the front row here to lead this final restart with 44 laps to go. This is right on the edge of their fuel window. I believe we should be able to make it from here, but it will be tight.
Yeah, that seems a little bit tight. I don't know if they'll need some caution time here or if they'll need a splash. 44 laps seems like just a little bit too much to me. Not sure if you know the real-life numbers of fuel here
usually
at Talladega.
Goes from 44 to 48, and an interesting call by the 88 car. Looks like Dale Jr. will elect to start on the outside, but I believe Jeff Green, his buddy, is going to allow him to go back inside. Also, keep in mind, Jr. has control of the restart, so he'll be able to pilot off and perhaps get that jump before clearing the 38 car, which is what he will need. Yeah,
that call makes a ton of sense, especially with Scott Crump there lining up on the bottom. What that does is it allows Dale Jr. and potentially even Tyler Fode to accelerate at the same time, slot up there in front of Jeff Green and get those three all in order. If Dale Jr. started in front of Scott Crump, the odds of Crump giving Jeff Green on the outside a chance to slot into second there would be unlikely. So smart call there by Earnhardt to stay with. It seems pretty clear to me right now that Jeff Green and Dale Earnhardt, shocking, they're working together here at the front of the pack. So to stay together on the racetrack, Dale Jr. going to the top makes a ton of sense.
And again, I cannot believe that we have such a pioneer in the sport and somebody that's been so great for iRacing. You think about all that Dale Jr. has done to bring iRacing into our homes. I mean, he works hard with iRacing to bring us some great tracks. I know he spearheaded North Wilkesboro, to get that back onto the game, and just where iRacing has come from where they began, and a lot of it has to do with that man that's piloting that 88 car, and we are so thankful just to have him and his opportunity and time to be racing with us. I mean, that's just a really cool moment for Elite Racing, and I'm so glad to be part of that race-off. I cannot believe Dale Jr. is once again leading. I know he was also sick. He was supposed to have Kevin Harvick earlier, I believe, this week on his podcast there, the Dale Jr. Download. Unfortunately, had to reschedule that due to being sick. It was not COVID related, but just feeling a little bit under the weather. And he was still able to make time for us, mere mortals, on a virtual game. So
there you go. That's exactly what we imagined would happen there at the start. Dale Jr. gets underway, brings Tyler Fody with him, and Jeff Green in line now on the bottom. R.C. Anderson tried to come up with them, but just going to lose that momentum on the top lane, and that sucks for R.C. there because he's going to now have to drop all the way back behind Chris Wright after he had such great starting position. Man, that's really unfortunate there for R.C. Anderson. He'll slot in front of teammate Chad Frankenfield. No worries there. But yeah, how about that? Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to come around here under green to lead a lap for the first time at Talladega here on iRacing.
Far around, it's Tate Lytle in turn 4, and he sledgehammers the wall hard with another competitor also involved.
Oh, I jinxed it.
Another championship contender involved in a crash. Take a look at this. Tate Lytle gets hit. Around he goes in the 91. Is that Johnny Thomas?
That's Johnny Thomas there, our Daytona 500 winner. And I think what we're about to see here is going to be a very upset Johnny Thomas. There you see the reverse hard into the 56 car. I think he feels that Tate Lytle was at fault for that one. And if we take a look at the incident, it almost looks like that's exactly the case there. Let's stop that and rewind just a little bit here.
This was not clear. Trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack. That's something we've seen these drivers do. This gets turned by Andrew Rucker.
Well, he comes
and that
down.
Is going to take out and end the chance for Johnny Thomas. Johnny Thomas was in a must-win situation here, and because of that damage, he will not advance.
Yeah, that's
at all.
That's really, really tough there for Johnny Thomas. Your Daytona 500 winner. Brandon Key seems to make it through relatively okay. I mean, there was a lot of damage on that car to start with, so hard to check there. Andrew Rucker's the other one we wanted to see. There's big damage on the 64. He was running alongside Tate Lytle. He was also involved, though, in a crash earlier on in this race, so tough to tell where all this damage came from. But, again, every single caution tonight has had a chaser involved. This one, Tate Lytle, who, if you ask me, I think Tate, I love Tate, but he came down there on Andrew Rucker. I don't think there was a spot there. He might have gotten a clear from his spotter, but he was definitely not clear.
That is very much unfortunate for the 91 car, our Daytona 500 champion this season, who most likely now is out because of that move. Unfortunate.
All right. Getting a message here from my old buddy up here in the booth from the Elite Racing JoinAPS Cup Series that the 12 car had a great onboard through that wreck. So we're gonna hop back to the replay, see if we can spot what happened here with Robert Hill Jr. running in the number 12 Oscar machine.
I don't fault the 56 car for wanting to get to the bottom of the racetrack. We have seen that be the dominant line all night long. But unfortunately, as well, with him already advancing to the next round, you gotta take care of the guys around you. And unfortunately, this takes out some really good competitors who might have had a shot to it. Look at that, a hard hit by the 91. Where will the 12 car go? Oh, just
was there contact? I don't think there was contact there.
He may have just a slight kiss, like a chef's kiss, just getting around that. But he definitely had a great onboard of that.
Man, oh man, how about that? Yeah, so Robert Hill Jr. very close there to the spinning 91. Of course, really unfortunate there for Johnny Thomas to go around. And yeah, that really hurts his chase hopes. We'll have to see if we can revisit what the points look like here. We're actually just going to hop off here. We'll be going nonstop here with the action. You guys will just follow the action around the racetrack, but we'll be back in just a second.
Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway. You've been watching some NASCAR non-stop action up front. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in front of his teammates there, Tyler Fody and the 38 of Jeff Green, as we are cleaning up our 5th caution flag of the night. And Rashav, all 5 cautions tonight have involved our championship contenders here. We know some drivers who have been eliminated, unfortunately, because of accidents here tonight. The question is, though, what 9 will be able to advance? Dale Jr. stomps on the loud pedal as we get under 30 laps to go here at Talladega, and a big lead by the 88 car as he drops down low, picking up his teammates behind him.
Yeah, there you go. So Dale Jr. gets underway, takes Tyler Fody and Jeff Green along with him. Gerald Campbell, Chris Wright, both moving forward. Big loser right now off this start here, Scott Crump, who's had such a great race so far. He's going to go falling pretty far back here now behind Chris Wright in the 20 car, just in front of RC Anderson. Now, points are moving around, drivers are moving around as this race continues to go along, but this is what our current chase picture looks like. So Tate Lytle, Jared Rexing still stay obviously in because of wins. Scott Crump right now up into the chase picture. But the big thing we're looking at, though, is 10th on back. Brandon Key, Andrew Rucker, Johnny Thomas, Jacob Adams, Chuck Sweeting, all out. So actually the names of drivers who are out haven't changed any. But David Tooker right now is in danger. Actually, not really, because if all of the guys behind him, Brandon Key, Andrew Rucker, Johnny Thomas, Jacob Adams, have all been involved in wrecks, this could work out really well for Van de Sant and Tooker, as well as Massey, all of these drivers who've been involved in big wrecks so far. Weeks, Wright, Frankenfield, Crump, those are the drivers who have not yet been involved in accidents, and you can see that right there as they are currently the highest pointed drivers of the chase field who aren't, who haven't already won to advance to the next round.
So David Tooker in a nice spot. We talked about how you didn't want to be perhaps in that 9th point paying position there, entering in case we get one of the drivers below that cut line to advance. But unfortunately, for those guys that are below the cut line, all of them have had trouble here tonight, and so should not affect the 19 of David Tooker. He should still be able to go. But I mean, when we started the race, and I don't know if we're able to get even that graphic from where the guys started to what the points look like then versus now. I mean, Alexander Van de Sant and David Tooker, they were 3rd and 4th. They're on the bottom half of the field, and that's why Talladega Super Speedway takes our breath away.
Ask and you shall receive. So these were the championship standings before the event. Like you mentioned, Alexander Van de Sant up there with 1080 points. David Tooker running in the 6th positions. And now we slot back to what they looked like just before that green flag. Van de Sant down in 8th, Tooker down in 9th. So definitely some movement. You can see how much they've fallen. Scott Crump, the biggest mover upwards in the point standing. Same thing with Chris Wright. Van de Sant and Tooker, the biggest movers downwards. Jacob Adams as well, moving down as well.
So it's still not over here. Still less than 30 laps to go. What that caution flag was able to do, though, for us, is, I believe, put us inside our fuel window. So right now, I believe what you see is what you get as far as these guys being able to make it on both fuel and tires. I don't think we necessarily need to see these guys go down pit road again. Now the question remains, we have not seen much movement in that outside lane. Will we be able to see guys try and attack, basically, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who has now put this field in check behind him?
Absolutely, yeah. Dale Jr., Tyler Fody, Jeff Green. That is a dangerous trio leading the field here with 26 laps to go. We're going to tick over 25 laps to go. That caution probably saved these guys, and I don't think there's much fuel save that needs to be done. So if you're Dale Jr. right now, you can be pretty comfortable leading this field all the way to the finish, I think, of this race, and that's big news there. So Dale, Fody, and Green can all work together here, try and potentially create a little bit of separation, or at least just protect or fend off from the likes of Campbell or Wright or Crump. If any of them try to make some moves, there's a lot of protection here for Dale Jr., and how big would that be to see that 88 car win here virtually in the Elite Racing Leagues?
I know there's a lot of people watching that would love to see that, but for the other competitors that are in this lead pack, they perhaps want to be one of the people to say, hey, I beat Dale Earnhardt Jr., and why not? So I think we need to see a coordinated group effort from these guys. 4th place on back to try and beat them. We have seen that outside line flashes of brilliant work, but not yet as of late. as we get to the end of this race who will migrate to the top side of the racetrack.
Absolutely. That's what we got to look at, is who's going to be the brave one making that move to the top first. Right now, there you see just a little bit further back, that was Matthew Weeks in the 11 car peeking out, trying to take a couple of cars with him. They did go, but now all slotted back in line here. And there you go, single file once again throughout the field. However, again, guys starting to peek out, starting to look and say, maybe is there an option? It just doesn't quite look like it right now. With 24 to go, we're about to hit 23 laps to go. But before we do that, I want to, of course, make a quick shout out here to our sponsor for the race tonight. A new sponsor on board with us here in the Elite Racing League, sponsoring the event at Talladega. And man, what an event have they got. Sonesta Hotels. Their hotels as individual as their guests. Just as there's no typical Sonesta, there's no typical Sonesta guests. There are business people, couples, families, and adventurers. Many have worn all these hats with Sonesta and all long for a unique and authentic experience. No matter your travel style or needs, Sonesta can match them amidst a bold and independent-minded aesthetic, from their lobbies and restaurants to their rooms. Check out Sonesta Hotels. Again, really great to have them on board for this event. What a great race to pick to sponsor here in the Cup Series. They've run a couple of races in the Xfinity and Truck Series, but man, oh man, the audience that comes with Dale Jr. racing tonight, and potentially the just exposure, if Dale Jr. is able to get the job done in 22 laps time, that's huge. So thanks again to Sonesta for coming on board.
Yeah, we've seen a number of drivers, speaking of hotels, check in to this field, and some of the drivers have checked out, unfortunately. Here tonight, what will happen as we see Matthew Weeks lead a charge in that outside line? That is the closest we have seen since perhaps early in this race. That outside line really taking an advantage, and he has help from Dallas Minehand in that 41 car. Yeah,
this is huge here. This is a big run that Matthew Weeks has been able to form. He's got Dallas Minehand, he's got Robert Hill Jr., he's got Josh Robin as well. These guys all starting to work together, and they made some big progress up the field. I'm just worried it's stalled out just a little bit here. I don't know if they're going to be able to get past Scott Crump here. They've got to stay together, and you can already see they're starting to split up just a little bit. Only 5 cars in that top lane. They need more manpower. If they keep adding cars from the back of this pack to this group, eventually they might be able to overpower the bottom lane and get past, but right now it's just not quite enough. They're still running side by side with the likes of Scott Crump in 6th position.
What does the London car need to do here, Rashov, to try and work his way up through the field? Does he try and side draft the guys that are below him right now and work his way up front?
That's your only option here is to try and take these chunks out, try and make some moves, because if you're running this far back in the pack, you're running out of laps to move forward. So you've got to kind of take these big chunk plays, kind of make big moves every chance you get. But the problem is you can see here, it's so hard to do. Matthew Weeks and Dallas Minehand are doing an exceptional job right now at staying at least in line with the likes of Scott Crump and R.C. Anderson. They are doing a fantastic job staying pace with them, and if they can just get 1 or 2, extra inches forward, Matthew Weeks could potentially pressure to slot in front of Scott Crump here. But now down the straightaway, they're losing time now, and it's just not working. The biggest advantage they have is through the corners when the bottom lane has to check up a little bit for everybody. They can kind of close some time in there, but down the straightaways through the tri-oval, you just have absolutely nothing on this top lane.
Right now working 20 laps to go, so time, as you had mentioned, running out for these guys that are in the back half of this lead pack to try and work their way up front, using all the laps they can, with perhaps one shot of getting it done. And you see Matthew Weeks and the 41, what looked like a stellar shot to get up there, has now all but fizzled out. And you see the 41 car actually going to bail out. Now they're suddenly 3 wide, and that's going to slow those guys down dramatically there, as Matthew Weeks finds himself on the outside looking in, and the bottom half of the field is going by him.
Yeah, that's tough for Matthew Weeks. Falls all the way back to 14th. Remember, he was fighting side by side with Scott Crump in the 6th position. That's just how detrimental losing the draft is here. And we're just going to keep talking about that. It's just ridiculous. With this package, you just cannot make any moves by yourself. You need a train of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars to really make any kind of forward progress. And you're seeing that here, where this group of cars just lined up on the bottom. Nobody's going to be able to touch them. And even if Tyler Fode, Jeff Green want to make that move to try and pass Dale Earnhardt towards the end of this race. I'm not so sure they can. I'm not so sure you can get that much forward momentum to make that pass.
Well, with these guys being in a Discord chat and everything, we know that the front three there have been working together. If I'm Gerald Campbell or Chris Wright, one of these guys that are inside the top 5, I'm trying to make deals with these guys that are behind these drivers to try and work around them, because you're not going to get around them just following them, single file. There's got to be a way, some momentum found in that outside lane if you get numbers out there, and so that would be normally the job of a spotter here, but you are your own spotter kind of in a sense here on iRacing here, trying to championship yourself and get more people behind you to go ahead and make move. Question is, when does that move come? And will people make it with you when that time comes?
So Alex, there's one very important thing that you forgot to account for there, and that's that racing drivers have massive egos. So they won't be able to decide. They won't be able to decide who's the one who actually leads that pack. So everybody's too afraid to go and follow somebody, because now you're worried that you can't pass that guy if you decide to follow. You don't want to be the follower. You want to be the leader. So you'll see guys jumping out, but they don't want to give anybody else that lead position. You want to be the first to jump out, but then if you jump out, no one else is going with you. So it's it's kind of a self-perpetuating, self-fulfilling prophecy here, where you're not going to win if you don't jump out, and if you do jump out, you're probably still not going to win, because nobody's going to go out there and support you to move forward.
What? You're telling me race car drivers are selfish? I've never seen that. These guys are some of the courteous drivers. They're professionals. I would expect that to see on I-95 that I was just on there, perhaps not letting me in. These guys would let you in, won't they? I guess not. We're seeing some commotion, though. That's R.C. Anderson. They're poking out a line.
Yeah, I mean, if there is a driver who's willing to go up to the top first and try and bring drivers with him, it could be R.C. Anderson there. And potentially, if drivers are willing to go with him, I think generally the consensus, because of how well RC performs just about everywhere on the calendar, guys know that if you follow RC around the racetrack, there's a good chance you'll get some pretty solid track position here too. But again, you've got to be, obviously considering the fact that you might not have a shot, at winning the race, but expect movement to come from the back of this pack, because you want guys to be making these big chunk moves, trying to make big moves forward. Guys towards the front are a little bit less likely, I think, to make these moves because they have that much more to lose.
Speaking of guys in the back of the pack with a lot to lose, they've already lost some. Is Matthew Weeks, unfortunately. He's the tail end. Tail end Charlie, as I heard Mike Joy once describe it there, all the way back up in the 17th position there. So there are 17 cars inside this lead pack working some lap traffic as we ride on board. Tyler Fode, who's riding along in the second position, right behind Dale Earnhardt Jr., riding at a 192 miles an hour, closer together than most people dare to park.
Yeah, it's ridiculous just how close these guys are. This is right here at the front of the 40 car. The nose cam that he's running, 191 miles an hour, and now down the back straightaway. Does he actually make contact with the 88, or is there enough of what's kind of like an air bubble, where if the car behind is close enough, it kind of is good enough to push it along? And it looks like that's exactly it, because look, Dale Jr. staying with Tyler Fode, 196 miles an hour. Dale Jr. doesn't have a car punching a hole in the air for him. That's all this kind of air pushing the 88 car along without any physical contact here from the 40. A really interesting kind of effect that you get here with this high performance, high speed racing that these guys run. Really close together, these guys are able to just create these bubbles where Tyler Fode can just use a big pocket of air and push the 88 car along at some pretty incredible speeds.
But we've also been able to see drivers actually tandem draft, and it has worked for a split second, perhaps a lap and a half, as we see a little bit of a big gap between 4th and 5th place. I wonder if Chris Wright in that 20 car perhaps is saying now is go time there, because he has the numbers behind him to try him out lately starts. And if I'm Gerald Campbell or one of these other drivers inside the top 4, I'd be a little bit worried, because that is a big gap, enough where if drivers decide to go to the outside, and here they come.
Yeah, here we go.
There is Chris Wright and Scott Crump working to the outside. Will more people go with them? You saw Chris Wright dumped out high, but the 90 car did not go with them.
Yeah, Scott Crump thought about it, but now he's in fact side drafting off the 20, and the 20 who tried to take one position now loses 2 in the process, might lose 3 here if Kendall Noah player gets by. That's the problem here, is you try and make a pass. If that pass that is unsuccessful, and there's probably about a 60 to 70% chance that that pass is unsuccessful, you're dropping 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 positions. Heck, look at Matthew Weeks, who dropped about from 6th to 14th within the span of a lap. I mean, it's huge disadvantages, and there you see him dropping a huge number of positions. Chris Wright, who was trying to make the pass for 4th position, now running in 12th in just the span of half a lap.
Not only does that break the draft for these guys and break a little bit of forward momentum, that outside line, it also breaks the trust that you have with these guys. You talk about competitors working with one another. That's a fast way to make some enemies there. Perhaps if the 90 car needs that later on, the car can put that in the memory bank and not go with them. So that's something that these guys, we were joking about it earlier, but it does come. The relationships that you build here on that last lap could very well determine if a guy goes with you or not. 11 laps to go here as they work the Alabama Gang Super Stretch. Down into turn number 3. We've already seen speeds well upwards of 195 miles an hour entering that corner of the speedway, led by Dale Earnhardt Jr. 10 laps to go. His last win in the real world came here in 2015. A win with Hendrick Motorsports that saw him, again, as I had mentioned earlier today, tied for second on the all-time win list. Now, just 10 laps to go here in the Sonesta 250. Can Dale Earnhardt Jr. win in his first ever start for the Elite Racing Network? Can somebody get around him and work together to put that 88 car in the rearview mirror?
Yeah, I mean, this is huge right now, and I mean, what a master of these types of racetracks Dale Earnhardt Jr. is. Just again, started 14th, and we talk about, okay, qualifying doesn't matter a ton, in these types of races, but with this package, it clearly does. I mean, just think about how little overtaking we've seen. Mostly, it's kind of the guys who have been smart and just learned to stay in line and be patient who are the ones who've moved forward. It's the guys who are being aggressive, trying to make moves, that keep falling back. So Dale Jr. pretty quickly worked his way up into the top 5 and 6. Was kind of battling it out through there, had a great time on and off pit road, took over the lead and has not relinquished it since. This has really been an absolutely clinical drive here from Dale Earnhardt Jr. in a package that's hard to overtake with, to move up all the way here from 14th position at the start to now be leading the race and to be leading a large chunk of laps here. Really impressive drive, and there's a reason this guy is known as one of the masters here of Talladega, known as one of the masters of plate racing in general. Still some ways to go, but he's certainly put on one heck of a show for us here tonight. An impressive performance, really, really impressive, and you don't expect anything less here from Dale Jr.
He's definitely put on a clinic. I'm actually ran out of ink taking down notes to learn from this champion here at this racetrack here. And it all does go begun on pit road. We talked about how important getting on pit road is, and unfortunately we didn't see a green flag pit stop, but still the dynamic of this race changed on pit road, just like what we saw with Kyle Larson winning the Cup Series championship at Phoenix late 2 weeks ago. How important it is to have a good pit stop. That 88 car was in and out. I believe he came in there in second, but he was able to gap Scott Crump and Jeff Green right at the line, and that's what gave him control of the race. That could be the race-winning move. Yeah,
it really could be, and you need good pit stops. You also need to have a good race, and for the second week in a row, a man who has not had a great race and is joining us up here in the booth to kind of finish off the call here, Tate Lytle. Man, that win at Sonoma is really coming back, and it's probably your best friend here over the past couple of weeks, because, man, you have not had some great luck here at Richmond or Talladega over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we had bad luck last week, and we kind of created our own bad luck this week. I was trying to clear myself clear on Rutger, and I really thought I was clear, otherwise I wouldn't have made the move, but obviously wasn't, and took out a couple guys, unfortunately. So sorry to Johnny Thomas, but yeah, I figured I'd come help you. We coming to 6 laps to go. We got Dale Jr. leading. I mean, what more could you ask for as a broadcast team, right?
It's
Oh yeah, he's put on a clinic so far, but the question is, can anybody behind him running along the 4th, 5th, or 6th position there, mount a late race charge, and get around these top 3. They've been working nose to tail these bow ties all race long. It's going to need some muscle, and it's going to have to come from those guys behind them.
Yeah, I mean, those JRM LNM boys, I mean, they're gonna remain loyal to one another, I think, till the end. So I will be shocked if anyone other than those top 3 win. I really like Junior's chances, obviously, but I mean, I really think it's gonna be him or Fody unless we see. I mean, we see the top 3's kind of pulling away. So maybe if these guys can give it a run, they'll get up there. But the problem is they'll get to side drafting, and then they'll slow those guys down anyway. And I don't know. I mean, I tried that a couple times. I was about a foot away from clearing Scott for the lead one point. And it just doesn't work if it doesn't work, and then you fall back a million spots, and that's just kind of the nature of this package. But I mean, we got 5 laps to go. Anything can happen. It is still Talladega, and we've got one of Talladega's best leading the field here.
Absolutely, we do. And I mean, just curious from your point of view here as a driver. I mean, what's this package been like? Has it changed much since Daytona? Or are we still seeing the same? Because from a spectator's point of view, it looks very much the same kind of car that we were running earlier this season in Daytona, where just really tough to make any kind of run, really tough to get anything kind of working. It's single lane racing. What are you feeling behind the wheel when you do duck out and try to make those moves? How quickly does that kind of backfire if you don't have a lot of support from behind?
Pretty quick. I mean, if you don't have it timed right, it bites you in the butt. I tried passing Scott there on the backstretch. I thought I had it made, and Junior ended up pushing Scott instead of me, and that pushed Scott ahead. I fell back to like 12th. Tried passing Rucker there. I mean, I haven't seen the replay yet. I'm sure you guys have. Thought I was clear, tried to clear myself, and ended up wrecking him and a couple other guys. So it's just one of those things. Not a whole lot you can do, but it's just kind of the nature of this package. And these guys behind these top 3, they're going to be pretty organized. I mean, they're going to have to be very organized and working very well as a team to have any shot at winning this race.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of daylight between 3rd and 4th place right there, Gerald Campbell there, but the question remains, I believe that 31 car tries to lay back. Will Scott Crump be able to help him? And you see an issue for the 90 car has been its connectivity issues all day long. That's not going to help that 31 car get the assistance he needs in order to beat these top 3.
No, Scott's been blinking the whole race. Not like terrible, but enough to where it's noticeable as you see him backing off the 31, which, I mean, if I'm Scott, I'm going to try and pass the 31, and that'll put me one spot closer, but I mean, we're coming at 2 to go, so how much more can you really do?
Yeah, we're definitely going to see a little bit of a lag from that 31 car and the 90 car, and also lap traffic ahead of these guys as well could play a factor.
I mean, Tate, what's it like running behind that when a car is blinking around Talladega? I mean, we were talking about this here in the booth earlier in the race, and are you still getting benefits of the draft when that car blinks out? Are you still, are your water temperatures still going up if you're close to his bumper? What's it like? And of course, how nervous does that make you trying to just figure out where exactly he's going to blink back into place?
I mean, I don't think it matters a whole lot with the temperatures of the draft or anything, but it's just kind of if he comes back in the wrong spot and you turn him and wreck half the field, then what? But I mean, you see these Lake Norman Motorsports guys working well with Dale Jr. Obviously, Jeff Green, winner of the 2000 Busch Series Championship. Dale Jr. won the 2 before that, and they've got a pretty good relationship. And I mean, they're coming to the white flag. I think if anything's going to happen, it's going to be the 38 pushing the 40 car. But Dale Jr., I mean, he's still going to have an opportunity to block, and we're coming to the white flag at Talladega. I don't see anyone else beating one of these 3 cars unless they crash each other out.
Friend or foe, will the 40 help the 88 car? Will he be pushed by the 38 car as we are on the last lap here at Talladega Superspeedway?
Yeah, here we go. So Dale Jr. gets that white flag. He's going to come back down to the back straightaway. We'll see if anybody can make a move. You see RC Anderson, they're trying to put something together, but there's just no organization at the back. It's all going to happen from one of these top 3 drivers. Tyler Fody, though, staying in line off of the back straightaway through turns 3 and 4 into the tri-oval. This is his final opportunity. Same with Jeff Green. Are they just going to be happy to push Dale Earnhardt Jr. to win?
They don't get anything. Even if they wanted to have something, they don't have it.
Here he comes.
Fody's to the outside. Fody, come on! Side drive. He got him. 3 wide, Lake Norman Junior Motorsports.
Tyler Fody.
Last lap pass gets it done.
Fody gets it done on Junior. That's awesome. I didn't think coming out of turn 4 I thought it was just they didn't have anything for him. He must have had one heck of a run off the nose of Jeff Green to have that. And yeah, Tyler Fody, winner here at Talladega, takes one from Dale Jr. and
that's going to be unpopular. that is. I mean,
well,
great move.
Very popular for him.
Great move for Tyler Fody. I'll say that. I mean, fantastic move from Tyler Fody. But to beat Dale Jr. at the line by 6 hundredths of a second, oh man, after Jr. led the past 25, 30 laps. Woo!
Yeah. Still, not a bad race at all, and one of the best runs of the season for Jeff Green as well. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his debut getting it done in second place. But Tyler Fody, he took some lessons from the guy in front of him, definitely for that last lap pass. That's how it's never over until it's over. The trioval,
nope.
Where the start-finish line is here at Talladega Superspeedway. We have seen that play a factor into the finishes in real life. It once again played its hand virtually, and Tyler Fody is the winner because of it. He gets it done in the Sonesta 250 here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if this was Daytona, Junior wins by about a car length. And I mean, after driving these cars, I didn't think Fody had anything for him, but he must have had more of a run off Jeff Green's nose than I thought and was able to get to the outside. Once you get to the outside, that side draft's pretty strong, and he pulled him back right to him. Jeff Green almost got there, too. He was pretty close.
Yeah.
But a heck of a win by Fody.
Yeah, celebrations all around there for Tyler Fody. Obviously very happy for him. So far winless this season. Didn't end up making the chase as well after a couple of race suspension. So it certainly
he won at Darlington.
Oh, he did win at Darlington. My bad. He did win at Darlington, but didn't point his way into the chase after that. But his second win of the season here at Talladega in spectacular fashion. We're going to go back to the replay once he finishes here, these celebrations, and show you guys just how close that finish was between these three drivers. Jeff Green, Tyler Fody, Dale Earnhardt Jr. What a group of drivers there to be involved in that finish.
On the last lap, Tyler Fody put behind him 3 NASCAR Xfinity Series championships in the rear view mirror. What a day for Tyler Fody here, who, as you had mentioned, was not a part of our championship contending crew, which we'll get to that in a bit. But take a look at this last lap pass through the trial that put the 40 car in victory lane.
Yeah, gonna see if we can get to it here. All right, let's see if we can find this overtake here on Dale Earnhardt Jr. See if we can get a good angle on it for you boys.
I mean, any day you can say you passed Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the last lap at Talladega. That's just, if people don't say that you're crazy.
All right,
take a look at this move.
Here we go.
So he kind of lagged back a little bit, got a decent push off the nose of the 38. Junior probably could have blocked him right here, but decided not to. And I mean, if Jeff Green pushes Junior, Junior wins. If Jeff Green pushes Fody, Fody wins. And he pushed Fody, and Fody got him by about a car length there, and Junior almost lost second. So
he did. Look how close that battle would have been for second right there.
There you go.
That was the race lead.
Man, how about that finish? Fody actually, I mean, it looked a little bit closer from the angle we were looking at the finish of the race, but Fody got them by an entire car length there. But geez, close between Jeff Green and Tyler Fody. And back to live pictures, let's take a look at that final finishing order of this race. And like we saw,
Tyler Fody, just like what we've seen, I believe Keselowski did the exact same thing, led a grand total of 1 lap.
Well, let's speak to our winner then. Tyler Fody, for the second time this season, is gonna win. Tyler, man, I'm sure that's gonna be an unpopular win, passing Dale Jr. at the end. But what a move! Well timed. Got a little bit of help there from Jeff Green, and I mean, just completely beat Dale Earnhardt Jr. to the line. Congratulations on this win, man.
Yeah, dude. To be honest with you, I got no words right now. I can't even believe that just happened. That was surreal.
Well, you had plenty of time to think about that move there, riding along in the second position before you made it there was just about, I would say 500 feet. What's going through your mind? Did you think you had enough to get around the 6-time winner here on the biggest stage of NASCAR, both virtually and in real life?
Yeah, well, we had a good amount of time to think about it. Me, Dale, and Jeff all talking about it. We just wanted to make sure it was one of us three. And we got some separation, it looked like, on that last lap. And we did everything we could to give it a good run and a good finish. And, I mean, we were just about 3 wide there coming across the line, so that was awesome.
Fody, I was watching the race off of turn 4 there, and I was telling these guys, I don't think he's got nothing. I don't think he can do anything with it. And then Jeff went with you. How much did you pay Jeff Green to push you across the line? Because if he goes with Dale, Dale wins, and if he goes with you, you win. And he went with you, and then you came across the line and won the race. What were the words that were exchanged coming down the backstretch between you three?
It was one of us, pretty much. And anyone, any one of us three was the message coming through the tri-oval. I will say, though, watching it back, I had a whole handful of wheel. Jeff caught me right on the left rear a little bit and almost wiped all of us out, but glad he didn't. And yeah, I mean, so much fun. Probably the most fun race I've ever had, talking with them, racing with them. So happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's an awesome experience, man, to not only race with two legends of the sport, but to also beat them right there at the line for the victory. I want to give you a chance while we've got you on the air to make some shout-outs. Obviously not racing for the championship here, but still a great second win to add to your resume this season. It's been a strong running there from this 40 car.
Yeah, I mean, this almost feels bigger than any of the other titles I've won, to be honest. That was insane. Yeah, no, firstly, huge shout-out to Junior for running tonight and running with us nonetheless. I got to thank Jeff Green for the connection there. Running with Lake Norman all season, was able to get him in too. So who knows? Maybe in the future here, Junior might be a full-time member. We'll see. But no, firstly, shout out to those two. Shout out to you guys for putting this on. Elite for being able to pull high-caliber drivers like that. Yeah, just stoked and looking forward to running Dega again on Monday.
All right, Tyler Fody, congratulations again, man. Big win for you. Congratulations. Sounds like it was a fun race from that point of view.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so race winner Tyler Fody. Speaking with him, we'll bring in our third place finisher, Jeff Green. We might still hear from Dale Earnhardt Jr. We're going to see and wait for just a second, but we'll at least bring in third place finisher here tonight. Third place by just 1,000th of a second. Jeff Green, talk us through that race there, working with Dale Jr. and Tyler Fody all race long, and kind of that breakaway that the three of you guys were able to kind of get there towards the end of this race. It was a great team effort by you guys.
It was. It all worked out well. Wrong guy won. I'm just kidding. No. We worked together from lap 1 to the finish, and I was able to, have some strategy on pit stops to get and on the restarts to get back on the bottom in line and keep our track position doing it. And just glad it worked out for everybody. I mean, any three of us could have won the race and should have won the race. Tyler was the one in the right position, and I'm just glad for Dale that he had a good time too. So it's a good night for us.
Jeff Green, we were talking amongst ourselves. I mean, between you, Dale, and our team, the 3 Xfinity Series championships between you guys have done this in real life. Walk us through what it was like piloting that next-gen car, because it looked like some of the field, besides you guys working together, kind of struggled trying to get that outside line, and that really handed you guys the ability to control the race.
Well, I mean, we knew after practice that the bottom would be the dominant groove, and if you didn't put yourself in the wrong position on the bottom, the outside lane could not make any runs. They could get there, but they never could conquer that outside groove. So, our strategy the whole race and through our pit stops and on the restarts is to keep in line for one, and to be on the bottom and just control the race. And we were lucky enough to, with 2 to go, 4th on back, started racing each other, and that gave us enough room to be able to race it for the win there for between the 3 of us. So it was a good race. C2, we lost C2 John Michael Cunningham. We lost him last week or a couple weeks ago now. He he was involved with me getting on iRacing and with that C2 Resources, and he owned that company. And so dedicate this run to him and this night to him. And he's been a big part of my iRacing career and some of my last races in the real life. So I'm going to miss him, and I'm sure he's looking down and smiling. He always enjoyed able to have good finishes and being able to put C2 in front of a camera. So hopefully we did all that for him tonight.
Hey, Jeff, it's Tate up here. I know I raced with you a little bit there at the beginning of the race.
Yeah.
I fell back a little bit, tried making a move for the lead, and wasn't quite there, and then ended up wrecking out a little bit later from my own doing. But it's fun racing with you guys. I mean, it's great having you and Dale obviously here to help grow the league. So it was pretty awesome to have you two behind me at one point. But what is it like running these next gen cars? I mean, the racing itself isn't quite as fun, I don't think. And it's probably is it comparable to anything you've ever run in real life before, or is it kind of its own type of deal?
I think it's its own deal. The Xfinity cars are so much different, but to me it puts on a better race. You're able to make more moves, and a lot of them said tonight, we wasn't really racing, but we were racing. It was just it was playing chess instead of playing checkers, I think. But, this is the package they give us to run, and we just try to figure it out the best we can. It doesn't pull up. It pulls up well, but it doesn't succeed in a pass. So, and the other cars seem like you could put two or three cars together and make a pass on two or three other cars. So it's just different. I mean, just have to adapt to what they give us, and I was able to do that tonight. I was looking forward to racing with you there at the end, Tate, but I don't know if you made that move, because we kind of had a plan over the phone, or I think somebody was texting that Fody that been talking to you, and we were going to try to hang to the end, but I didn't know he was going to make that move early, and we probably messed your race up because we didn't go with you. But sorry about that.
I messed my own damn race up, but
yeah.
I saw old Crump blinking a little bit, and I was like, I got to run. I got to try and take it, see if I can't side draft him. But I was about a foot short, and
right.
But that's how it rolls sometimes. But
it's still, I mean, even though it wasn't a race that we all want as far as passing and a lot of lead changes, I think it was still a great race for the fans and for the show, and that's where we really all we're supposed to do is put on a good show. So hopefully we did that.
All right. Thanks again, Jeff Green, for joining us up here. Congratulations on the third place run. Great battling there with your two teammates there, Dale Jr. and Tyler Fody. And hopefully with some convincing from you as well, we might see Dale in a couple more of the races that we run here in Elite.
Yeah, I think he had a great time. So hopefully, and it was a good fun race for him. So I think anytime he can have fun, he's going to come back and do some more. So hopefully that'll happen.
All right. We'd love to hear that. Thanks again, and congratulations, Jeff.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, man.
All right, Jeff Green there, our third place finisher tonight. Unfortunately, just got confirmation we will not be hearing from Dale Jr. In the booth afterwards, so we apologize for that. But we do have our final point standings, if you'd like me to roll through those. So
yes, this is what we all came to see here, folks.
We kind of got caught up in the Dale Jr. stuff, but yeah.
We didn't see a lot shuffling as far as from race to race as far as nobody being kicked out, but it did dramatically shuffle points within.
Absolutely. So just a reminder, let's show you guys what the points looked like coming into the races. Oh, great. That's fantastic. There we go. So that's what the points looked like coming into the event. And somehow, despite all of the chaos, I'm pretty sure all the drivers who are below the cut line coming into the race stayed below the cut line coming out. So your advancing drivers are Tate Lytle, Jared Rexing, Chris Wright, Alexander Vandesant, Nick Massey, Matthew Weeks, Scott Crump, David Tooker, and Chad Frankenfield. The 5 drivers who do not advance are Brandon Key, Johnny Thomas, Jacob Adams, Andrew Rucker, and Chuck Sweeting. So yeah, there you go. So all the drivers who were below the cut line remained below the cut line after that, despite all the craziness that happened here at Talladega.
It's just exactly what we expected here tonight. Chaos and not knowing who would be in and out until the very last lap. And I guarantee you, like, this round was hard. You had a short track, you had a road course, and you had the great unknown all deciding who are final 9 heading into the final 4 with the second round here going to happen. So Tate Lytle, our field has been dwindled down to 9 competitors with 3 more races to decide who our champion is going to be. Are you feeling nervous yet?
No, I mean this. Like I said last week, this car is kind of a
No,
great unknown
okay.
anyway. It's kind of the great unknown anyway, and I mean we're gonna go out there and we're gonna run the best we can every week. Obviously, I felt like we've put ourselves in the best chance we can. I think looking at the points, I'm gonna have like a 22-point buffer. Obviously, if those guys win behind me, that'll shrink little by little. But yeah, I mean, plan is to go out there next week and try and run for a win. And I mean, we'll be taking it easy a little bit more than we did tonight and at Richmond, but it's gonna be exciting for you guys. Homestead, I mean, I know that's still a long ways to go, but I'm really hoping to be able to make it there. That's going to put on quite a show for you guys. And I mean, this car, you've seen it all year. You can't count on anything until it's happened. And we've got Dover, which is a 1 mile concrete monster. 200 laps there, which in this car is going to be, and that's going to be brutal. That's going to wear on some guys. And then we're going to go to Auto Club, which I don't really know what to expect at Auto Club. I don't know if it'll be multiple lanes or if we'll see more of what we saw tonight. But that could be exciting. 100 laps there. And then we'll go to Charlotte Motor Speedway on the 15th of December. Again, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the top might come in there. But it's going to be a lot of what we saw tonight. If you get in the wrong lane, you're going to go backwards. And then, of course, Homestead, which the little bit of racing I've done at Homestead, it's a little bit more multiple lane, but it's hard to clear a pass and not have guys battling on your inside coming into the next corner. So it's still going to put on a great show. Hopefully we get some long runs at all those tracks and tire saving will come into play. But 2 weeks at Dover, week after that on the 8th at Auto Club, 15th at Charlotte, and then the championship race at the 22nd. I don't think anyone's going to want to miss it. If you're still listening to me right now, you obviously care a little bit more about racing than the average Joe. And, we'll put on a show for you regardless whether I'm involved or not, but we'll put on a show, and hopefully it's not too bad for Alex and Rish to watch.
It's not been bad at all. Tate, congratulations on making it into the next round. We wish you the best of luck. Looking forward, and as you had mentioned there, we are off next week for Thanksgiving, but right after that, we will be handling the Monster Mile there, Dover. Going to be the first of the round of 9 to decide who could perhaps solidify themselves for the championship Final 4 at Homestead later on. Rashav, I want to ask your opinion there real quick before we sign off there. From what we saw tonight, I think it was great, and what we expect to see later on in this season, I still think it's still anyone's game heading in, especially with this next-gen car.
Yeah, it's definitely anyone's game still. I think tonight we learned that we definitely have some work to do on the Super Speedway package. But we also learned that Dale Earnhardt Jr. enjoyed racing the Elite Racing League. So, I mean, what do I know? So I mean, that's fantastic. And hopefully we see him some more. That seems to right now be where things are trending. So for those of you still watching at home, you want to see more Dale Jr., make sure you're subscribed to the Elite Racing Network. You'll be able to see him racing, hopefully every Wednesday night in the future. But yeah, this next round's going to be interesting. Based off of the last 2 weeks, I think it could be anybody's game. Absolutely could be anybody's game with just how unpredictable this chase has been. In terms of guys moving around, kind of shocked that the 5 guys who kind of went out in this round were 5 of the guys that I might have looked at and said, yeah, they'd be around that area of maybe just a little bit towards the bottom of the chase, but man, I mean, this next group of guys, I think any of them can make the Final 4, and just, again, the chaos that ensued over the past 2 weeks, I don't think that's over. So, looking forward to what's to come. Looking forward, though, to this upcoming break, though, I think, with Thanksgiving.
Yes. A lot to be thankful for as we head into the Thanksgiving break there. Want to thank our sponsors as well, C2. Fraser, you mentioned how much they have been appreciated here for the Elite Racing League, how much they mean to Jeff Green as well, and thoughts are still with the family of John Cunningham, who was unfortunately passed away there a couple of weeks ago. Our thoughts and hearts are with you at this time, but I want to go ahead and begin signing off here tonight. Thank you guys so much. Another big thanks to Dale Earnhardt Jr. for joining us. Just how cool is that to say? Hopefully he enjoyed what he was able to partake in, and we'll see him later on in the future. But another great race in the books here at Talladega Super Speedway. So glad you guys could all enjoy it with us here right on the Elite Racing Network. Again, we will not be here next week. It'll be 2 weeks time from today, 8:30 time, where we handle Miles the Monster. You don't want to miss any of the action. It'll be right here at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. But from all of us here at Talladega, virtually want to say so long, and we will see you in 2 weeks time, and have a happy Thanksgiving.